Okay, wireless networks. First of all, let's forget the slides, forget everything you read in the book. Well, don't forget everything you read in the book. Forget the slides, forget what your notes say right now. Just start thinking about wireless networks and their application. Give me some business applications where you think, when I say business applications, some business examples or practical, real-life examples of where wireless networks can help a company or help an organization. Okay, we've got the two guys who are able to answer just about every question. I want to ask some other folks too. Jessica? Okay, Jessica mentioned phone systems can be hooked up with wireless. Anybody remember more details about what I was talking about in the phone systems hooked up via wireless networks? Frank? How can a phone system be used in a wireless network? And I'm not talking about mobile phones. You don't know, Frank? We just talked about it the day before yesterday. Aaron, God bless you.
You put the calls through like a wireless system to where you're not physically connected to like a landline, but everything's through like.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron mentioned, he's got a very soft, quiet voice, so I'll repeat it. Aaron mentioned that you use a type of phone that's able to take advantage. So basically, you take your cell phone, your mobile phone, like this. Everyone has, how many of you have a smartphone? Raise your hand. Okay, if you have a smartphone, then most of the voice over IP providers, telephone providers, have an application that loads on your smartphone that emulates, there's a great word for you, emulates or pretends to be or acts like a regular desktop phone. Okay? So if I have this, if I'm using this as a desktop phone, instead of connecting to a cable, like most desktop phones use, instead I have two choices. I can use the mobile carrier's wireless network to transmit my calls, because what happens is then, just like a smartphone, just like I'm going to do a search on Google, it's using TCP/IP to communicate back with a company. The difference is, instead of going to Google's web servers, this application goes to this company's phone switch, which then converts it to a regular landline kind of phone call. Okay, so I can either use the mobile carrier to communicate with the phone company, or I can use my wireless network. Either way, I can use the mobile phone's data network or the wireless network that I'm connected to in here to transmit TCP/IP packets back to the phone company. How do those packets know to get back? Let's take it one step further. Come on, think about this. How do those packets know where to go? Back to our last chapters, or last couple chapters. Seth, how do the packets know that they need to go, instead of to Google or instead of to wherever, they need to go to my specific 8x8 company? Start at the very top of the OSI model.
Physical?
No, that's the very bottom. Start at the very top. It's the first step.
Application?
The application, okay, specifically. Relate that application layer of the OSI model to me making a phone call on the 8x8 network, which is my voice over IP provider. What's required?
Connection?
No, that's lower on the OSI model. What's required?
All right, you need the app.
Right, that's it. That's as simple as that. I need the app that's specific to these folks. That's specific to either Comcast or specific to 8x8 in my case. I need that app loaded on the phone. Okay, so that's at the highest level of the OSI model, layer 7. Okay, let's go down a little ways. So once I have this app, it authenticates with the, I have to log in to it, right? So I have to have a username and password that allows me to pretend that I'm a desktop phone. So I log in with my username and password, now I am functioning as a desktop phone. So how do the packets know to go back to 8x8 instead of to Google or instead of to Microsoft or to somebody else? How do those packets know to go back there? Michael? Well, the app starts it, but specifically, how do those packets get sent to there? Once they get there, the port, yes, because then they know to go to an SIP application instead of to something else. And how do they get to 8x8? Come on, what's the basis of going from a source to a destination in a network? How do those packets know how to get there? We've covered this, guys. All you gotta do is think about it. Josh. IP address. Okay, they know IP addresses are unique. Public IP addresses, every one of them is unique, and they're registered with particular companies. So if you want to send email to who'syourITservices.com, then I have an IP address that's associated with that that's unique to my company. Okay, and that goes specifically to my website. Well, 8x8, which is the app provider, if I log in and use that app sends the packets directly to an IP address that it knows is that phone company. Yes, Austin.
School blocked your website.
School blocked what website?
Who's your IT professional?
That's not my company, so that's not my website.
Oh, it's blocked.
What does that have to do with addressing IP packets?
Oh, I was saying you did, but you were using that as an example, because if you couldn't get to there, this was wrong.
Yep. Okay. So getting back to what we were talking about. So with 8x8 or Comcast or whoever that provider is, there's one example of how wireless networks can help a business. Now, how can that help a business? Give me the example of how that can help a business by using wireless networks for your phones. Good. No. Yeah. No idea? How can using a wireless network?
Alright, so you're getting rid of all the extra cost of buying the phones that they have to sit on the desk.
That's one. Stop. Okay. I know you're on a roll, man. Okay. You see the business application of this. So I've got that is a $250 phone probably sitting over there. $250 phone. But I already have this. This is a requirement for me as a company because I have to be out and about. So instead of using that, one advantage of a wireless network is I can use this instead for multiple purposes. Give me another advantage of using a wireless network for phones. Yes. Why do I? You're right. I don't have to buy as many mobile minutes through Verizon, which is expensive these days. It used to be unlimited for me, no longer. But how?
Because if you're making phone calls to your business or whatever, you're not going to have to, if you're going to have to rely on this network, you're not going to have to.
So I'm connecting to the business wireless network instead of the mobile data plan, right? What's another advantage? I can move. That's exactly right. I can move. I can move anywhere within the building without having to carry that thing around, right? It's big and heavy. It's tied to a wire. I can move anywhere within the building. Okay, Zach, what else? What's another advantage or benefit of using wireless networks instead of a desktop phone?
You can have multiple at once.
How so? You may be right.
Like, you can have multiple phones underneath one router with wireless.
Oh, yeah. So instead of being tied to one cable, I can have multiple phones tied to one wireless access point. Okay, so flexibility in that. Yes, Austin?
Something that people are forgetting here, that the utilization of Skype on the move. Because Skype and like a lot of small businesses and stuff, people use that so much. Like say someone wants to teach someone how to do something and they're like,
Okay, yeah, hold that thought. So Austin brought up an application that's similar to a phone application, which is Skype, but it's actually a replacement for that.
I understand.
It's actually a replacement for your normal mobile data network, okay? And also for your desktop. And in fact, Skype Pro for Business, which Microsoft is going to be rolling out a new version of that coming up, can actually replace 8x8, can actually replace Comcast. They will do the same exact thing that this mobile app that I'm talking about does. So I can make regular phone calls to landlines, to, excuse me, to analog devices using Skype for Business, which for me, personally, my company, as a Microsoft partner, that saves me about $250 a month. Okay, so I can replace that if it works. I'm not going to do it right away. I can port all my existing phone numbers, all my local connections, over to Skype Pro for Business, and they call it something else, but I don't think it's been fully announced yet. So that's a pretty cool thing. I have a client, Mossberg, in fact. Alan emailed me the other day. He says, "Hey, have you seen this?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Is this a good alternative to 8x8? Because their bill every month is about $1,750, $1,750 a month, which is considerably less than what they were paying for before. Not to mention fewer phones because they're using mobile networks, but they were paying about $3,500 a month, and we were able to save them a ton of money by going to a voice over IP system, plus give them all kinds of features. But we digress. Let's go back to the wireless networks. All right, so that's one business application. That's just one. Okay, and there's a ton of others. A business, what else can they use a wireless network for? What is another benefit to a wireless network? Yes?
They don't have to pay tons for it.
They don't, yes, it's cheaper than running cabling everywhere. What else?
It could be used kind of as a cable management thing for like through their printers and stuff. Like you can get wireless printers.
You can get wireless printers so you don't have cables all over the place. Not just the cost of them, but you don't have all the mess of cables everywhere. What else? Seth, did you have something?
No.
This is kind of a morale thing because, go ahead, just hear me out here for a second. For one, you could have like a secondary network under it and give it to your employees for when they're on break and say, you know, we're doing this nice thing for you. And then on the same note, you can have less cables and say, we're helping the environment, we're having less of a carbon footprint.
Okay, actually you brought up an outstanding example, and that is as a morale thing. I have a company that's giving me all kinds of fits because they have a single internet connection for business and for guest access. They have a wireless network for their corporate so that they can do all the applications that we were just talking about, to include mobile phones instead of desktop phones. But then they also have, as a benefit to their employees, they have the ability, or they are encouraging their employees to use, gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Some of the music downloads, Spotify, Pandora, they're encouraging them to use those, but those are on the guest network, okay? They're giving me fits because, it is giving me fits because I'm having difficulty configuring the router to guarantee bandwidth for corporate applications and not be sucked up exclusively by the fact that everyone has their own phones and their own mobile devices that they're listening to. Because streaming video, streaming audio takes up a ton of bandwidth. And so my router that I have up there, firewall that I have up there, is giving me fits about how to isolate that traffic and limit that traffic. I know it's capable, but we'll get it. So as a morale booster, absolutely. That's a great application for wireless networks. Can anyone think of anything else? Business. If you own a business, what are the benefits of having a wireless network? Yes?
You can collaborate over larger space.
You can collaborate over what?
Over a larger space instead of having to get down to a meeting in one room. You can go separately.
I've got a smartphone or I've got a tablet PC. I can sit there directly in front of a piece of equipment. Maybe I'm troubleshooting with a support provider for a press. You guys saw some presses over at Microsoft or at Mossberg. So I'm working with this guy, and I'm on a website and I'm looking at things, or I'm collaborating with him via wireless network. I'm looking at PDFs that he's downloading to me. I'm doing all kinds of things. You can collaborate with people on a much larger scale. And let me think about that one a lot, because that application is definitely underutilized. People, just like Austin said, Skype is a phenomenal application. Skype is a phenomenal tool, and most people don't take advantage of that. They think, okay, Skype is just for video conferencing, your kid is on vacation, or you're seeing your grandkids. When we were in Spain last year, we Skyped and I saw my granddaughter. You know, it was just like being at home. It was pretty darn cool. Except we had to stay up till 1 a.m. because Spain is 7 hours ahead of us. But most people think it's just for a personal video conferencing kind of thing. But Skype in the business application is fantastic for desktop support. User calls up. I use a different tool, but Skype can be used also. User calls up, says, hey, I'm having trouble opening this application. It keeps giving me an error. Okay, may I connect to your system? Share your desktop. So that person double clicks on my name and then share desktop. And they can give me control of that, or they can just let me watch what's going on the screen. That's a great tool. You can send files back and forth using a tool like Skype. Skype's just one example. There are a lot of different ones. Yes, Austin?
There's another one too. When people are, like say you were talking about earlier how it costs a lot to run cables everywhere,
Yes.
and then they can use wireless as an alternative.
Yep.
Well, like say someone wants to do a renovation. If you have a wireless network, it's not going to hold you back from doing a renovation, because you wouldn't necessarily have to move your wires and stuff around. You just, as long as you weren't renovating where the
You're absolutely right. So it's a lot more flexible in a business. You can move stuff around without having to, you can move desks, you can move users from one location to another without having to worry about making sure there's cable there. Okay? But lots of benefits. And there are a ton of them that you haven't even covered yet. That you haven't even talked about that you have to consider. My job as an IT professional for the businesses that I service is to find out how their business operates, figure out how I can make them more efficient using tools like this or using the right app. It's not just installing Windows 10 on their desktops. That's a given, that's an automatic. But instead, what makes my company successful and companies like mine that are successful is to dig down, find out what hurts in their business, what's missing, or what technology is coming out that they're not aware of, and then determine one, and this is the tricky part, determine first, is it appropriate for them? The tricky part is saying, okay, well, there's a cost to that, and how much need do you have? You have to put some sort of price tag on that. So you have to have a basic business understanding to go put a price tag on that. Understand what a spreadsheet is, understand what a cost-benefit analysis is, understand how to manipulate those tools. But then figure out, okay, so if it does make sense, great, that's cool. Now let's convince the powers that be that there's this way cool application out there that's going to make them more money in the end. That's where the art of this business is. And if you guys get the baseline knowledge well ahead of all these college kids that are trying to learn this industry, or instead the adults that are trying to learn a new tool or learn a new career, if you get the baseline technical knowledge out of the way, then when you go off to college, not out of the way, but certainly a good base, then when you go to college, all the stuff they're teaching you in college on the business side, wow, hey, I can do this, or I understand how this works, and I can understand our next point, which is absolutely critical, and something that a lot of geeks like me don't necessarily take into consideration, and that is security. Wireless networks give you lots and lots of benefits, but there are inherent risks associated with wireless networks. Let's talk about a business. What are the risks associated with a wireless network? Okay, again, I want someone who hasn't answered any questions today, Johnny. What are the risks?
With the wireless, your all your information traveling between everybody else who has a wireless connection, and send something to one of your other companies or buildings 2 states over. A rival company could possibly take the information, it's theirs now.
To sniff out the information. It's like the packet sniffer on a wired network. Well, in wireless, you need a physical connection to it, right? You just need to be able to sense what that, find out what that SSID is, and then hack into that security. I have a friend who is the IT director at Marshall County, and he was taking one of the Cisco security course, and one of the tools that he downloaded as part of this course was essentially, think of it like a wireless sniffer. And so basically it goes out and sees these SSIDs, and even WPA2, well certainly WEP. A WEP secured network, wireless network, he can be in that thing within 30 seconds just by turning on this application. Sniff out the SSID, well I see the SSID because it shows up on his laptop, and then this application will go out and connect to that WEP secured network very, very quickly. And so now he's seeing those packets. And I'm telling you, if you can see the packets going back and forth, whether it's you're using a packet sniffer on a wired network or whether you're using a wireless sniffer equivalent, you can see those packets, then you can get to them. Now, if they are encrypted, that's a different thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, so wireless network is less secure in many cases than a wired network. Okay? Less secure because it's traveling through the air, essentially using radio frequencies, and if you can just tap into those radio frequencies, you're in. What else? Yes?
Yeah, wireless is less secure. There's also nothing protecting against physical contact. Like if you get to the routers, there's no other way you can do the security over the wireless network. Same thing as the wire.
Yeah, yeah. Normally you think that you have, in a smaller company especially, I mean, I know who walks into my business. And so if they try to plug into the wired network, they're going to get tackled, right? However, a wireless network, they can sit outside the wall of my office and see what's going on in the wireless network. So that's a risk. It's not, again, think past just what you're doing at home. Think past, you know, who cares if they're seeing what I'm doing on Facebook? Who cares if they can, you know what songs I'm downloading, or you know, some of you maybe, well, who cares if they know what pirated movies I'm downloading? Okay, so it's beyond that. You need to think toward a business application. What's the kind of information that a guy or a gal is going to find if they're able to hack into your wireless network? Michael Lieber. Such as, give me some examples. Social, you've got anybody know what an HR director is? What's HR stand for? Raise your hand. Jill. Human resources. A human resources director for a company has bank account information, or as Michael said, social security information. Y'all know what social security numbers can do for you. Identity theft, right? In a heartbeat. Social security numbers, bank account information, passwords to the network, all of those kinds of things. So if the HR director, who typically knows nothing about computers, nothing, if the HR director is typing away, saving data out to the network, whatever, and she or he are happy with their little laptop because now they can, all the reasons we love wireless devices, move around the company, meet with people, everything else, type in information, but using the wireless network. If that information is secure information, then that's a risk, okay? Because it's stuff that can ruin people's lives. Okay? Yes, Austin?
No, people are forgetting interference from walls. If you have
We're
wireless.
talking about security right now, right?
Well, you said risks.
What are the okay, I'll specify. What are some other security risks that are associated with wireless networks? Anything else you can think of besides social security numbers and those kinds of things? Yes, Austin? Yes. Give me an example of confidential data besides personal data. Plans for future projects. If you don't think corporate spying is going on out there, then you're very naive. And it's the same thing I tell my companies that I work with. If you don't think people aren't trying to spy on your data, especially I have 2 architectural firms, I'll guarantee you someone is trying to get the information in various forms of who they're bidding on, what projects they're bidding on. Is there a project out there that I should be bidding on that I don't know about? So they're trying to get that, or how much are their bids so I can undercut them. We're talking about millions of dollars at stake or even a small company like the ones that I'm dealing with, which have, well, the one has, I don't know, 30 architects and 50 engineers. That's a medium-sized architectural firm. I have another one that only has 10 architects, and that's it. That's a small architectural firm. So corporate's fine. Yes, Austin?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens every time someone hears about a video game leak.
Yes.
Leaks all the information.
Yep.
Like, if you ever see any tours of like 343, they've done a bunch of tours of their studios. They have like this massive like bank vault doors and like key cards and guards. They're so
Yep.
worried about it.
So they're not only, I'm sure they're also putting into place lots of security measures from the wireless side, if they even have wireless networks that are doing any kind of corporate information. But companies like that, which is surrounded by, you know, the whole world of video games is very, very competitive. The whole world is surrounded by geeks, right, who are trying to hack into that information. And the whole world is surrounded by geeks who have no principles about sharing information if they can get an advantage on somebody else. Okay, so other risks with wireless networks. Austin started to bring it up earlier. What else? Not just security risks. What other risks? There are other issues with wireless networks, the downside of wireless networks. Was that in your book or just a personal assessment? Okay, it's absolutely the case. It's something most people don't consider. It is much more difficult to find bottlenecks in the network because I can't log in. Well, some of them I can. The more sophisticated wireless access points I can log into, and I can see individual connections and how much data they're doing. But most of them you can't get that kind of detailed information. But in a switch, almost any switches out there that I would ever purchase, Cisco, Dell, HP, I can log into that switch and see very specific information on every port. So if I look at port 12, I know which workstation it is. If I see a data storm on port 12, or if I see a bunch of errors or a bunch of broadcasts on port 12, I can go directly to the source, which is that computer. Yes, Aaron.
Just the performance of it, like if you have wireless keyboards, mouses, and buttons on that, you can see it's connection.
Performance, and then I lost you with the keyboards and mice.
Like if they're wireless, the frequency they operate on.
Yeah, so normally you don't have that problem with keyboards and mice interfering with data transmissions on a wireless access point because they work on a different frequency. They're using maybe Bluetooth. They are using Bluetooth, which won't interfere with your corporate network, but your point of performance on a wireless network, I mean, just look at the speeds. What are the speeds on wireless networks? IEEE 80, what? IEEE 80, what? You do need to know this. What are the standards for wireless networks? Huh? Somebody over from the Triton table. Brittany? 802.11x. X being fill in the blank. 802.11a, 802.11b, 802.11g, 802.11n, and there are new ones out there. Brittany, how fast is 802.11g network, wireless network? 54 meg, 54 megabits. And it's still different. Okay, so what is a typical Cat 5e network running at? MacGyver.
100 megabits.
How many?
100.
802, or Cat 5e.
K5E, that'd be
Keep going. Next one up.
1,000.
Gig. They're operating at 1,000 megabits per second versus 54. Okay, and that's not shared space. Think of a hub, like a regular hub, all the disadvantages of a hub that I talked to you about early in the year, where everything is being broadcast across all ports, and that's very similar to a wireless network. Everything is being broadcast, and you are limited. You know, you're sharing that 54 meg with every other device that's connected to it. So from the very beginning, you're going 54 meg versus gig. That's the first thing. Second thing is shared network bandwidth as opposed to isolated unicast kind of network bandwidth. Yes, Austin?
Walls, I think that's probably one of the biggest problems.
Walls can be a risk in a, well, Yes and no. I mean, any business, yeah, any business that is implementing a wireless network will do, how do they alleviate the problems of walls? If you were going to design a wireless network for this building, what would you do before you bought anything? Well, can I pick on the people that, what would you do? What would be the first thing you do?
Might measure to see what size everything needs to be.
Maybe. Think about a little bit more sophisticated way of doing this. Taylor.
Maybe you said, well, so you don't need to run wires.
Where I can run, I'm doing a wireless network. Why do I care where I can run wires?
Oh, where you could run.
Actually, I wasn't saying you were wrong, you're right, but why? Why do I have, if I've got a wireless network, why do I care where I can run wires in a business? Yes.
Because you need to put the access point in.
Okay, but the access point, I just put it on the ceiling like that. What do I need wires for?
So you get internet.
Huh?
So you can get internet.
Kinda. Okay, so I've got a building that's got 100 rooms in it. And in one of those rooms, it's called my wiring closet, I've got my my internet service provider comes into a router there. I need to get that out to everything. So what other wires am I going to have to worry about? I only have internet service providers coming into one room that's coming into a box, my firewall or my router. Okay? But I've got 100 other rooms that I have to be able to connect to. One wireless access point isn't going to do it.
Yeah, you need to run wires to several rooms to be able to get the access.
I need to run Cat 5e cable or wired cables to each of those rooms so that they all have the same access to the other resources, whether it's internet or whether it's a bank of servers or whether it's each other. I still need to run wires to those. I don't have to. There are some access points that you can communicate, maintain one